was young and fresh out of high school. I needed work, so I sent in resumes to all sort of entry-level positions. I got a few responses. I settled on McDonald's because it was an easy commute. Plus, the employee discount was pretty cool. The only position they had was a night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm fine with that because I was already a night owl. The first few days working there were fine. I wasn't working the counter or anything, just doing back-end stuff and cleanup. Our building was in a little strip mall off a highway exit. It's the only place there that's open at night, but we get a decent amount of customers, most of which go through the drive-thru. On the Friday of my second week working there, or maybe it was a really early Saturday morning at that point, I'm not sure. It was just late. I remember I was grabbing the stacked trays from the lobby when someone walked in through the doors. It was a woman. She was really tall and pretty, made up super fancy in a long dress with high heels. She was wearing a big hat too. Eccentric, not your average McDonald's customer. But what was weird was that I never saw a car pull up. We have a full view of the parking lot from the window, but no car ever dropped her off. She must have walked here. I smiled at her as I walked by and headed behind the counter. I bent down to restack the trays below, expecting my coworker standing at the register to serve her. He didn't say anything though, and after I'd finished, I stood up to find out why the girl wasn't ordering anything. But she wasn't there when I looked up. I never heard the door open, she was just gone. I asked the guy on the till where the girl went, and he replied, "Who?" I said the girl with the hat, and he just looked at me like I was dumb, telling me he had no clue who I was talking about. So I tried to rationalize it, deciding she had probably stepped in the door, took a look at our grubby menu, and left. But something was weird about the whole thing. It didn't really make sense why someone who looked and dressed like that would be at a random McDonald's in the middle of the night. Whatever. The shift went on normally for the next hour. Then I remember taking a break after cleaning the toilets. I sat down on a chair in the back near the kitchen when I heard heels clicking on the floor. It was quite audible, louder than if someone was just walking. It sounded like stomping, sort of. So I peer out into the lobby. My coworker was gone from the front. I figured he went to take his break. But you know who I do see? That same woman. Only this time someone was with her. A man. He wore a tuxedo with fancy black shoes. They were dancing together, like full-on ballroom dancing in the lobby, swinging back and forth. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen. I remember watching them for a bit, mesmerized, before I took my place behind the register. I said something along the lines of, "Can I help you?" They both looked at me at the same time. As they stared, I felt a hand grab my shoulder with a firm grip. Instinctually, I turned around. No one was there. I knew someone had touched me, but there wasn't anyone, so I spun back to the lobby where the people were, to find them both gone. The man and the woman had just vanished. Once again, I didn't hear doors open or close. I didn't hear their fancy shoes skid on the floor. They were just there one minute and gone the next. For the rest of the night, only a few small things happened. At one point, I walked by the washrooms on my way to do something, to find both doors swinging, the male and female ones, like someone had just crashed through both of them. A little while later, I remember looking for something on the shelves in the back near the employee entrance, and something banged on the door, hard. Something heavy hit it, and only once. I remember opening it, looking around, and seeing no one. After that, the shift was regular. Really not much to say. I was really happy when I finally got off, though. The first bits of sunlight had just begun to come over the horizon as I left for my car. I was punching out 10 minutes before I was supposed to, but I didn't think the people coming in would care. As I hit the parking lot, though, I see a car. It looked like a small limousine. It was just sitting there in front of the restaurant. Through the light from the street lamp, I could make out the doors opening. 2 people got out, one on each side of the car. It was the man and the woman I'd seen before, the same people that were dancing. Only their appearance had changed. Their clothes seemed torn and ragged. I could see the woman's dress clearly because it was white. It was covered in dirt with holes and tears. And their faces were terrifying. Their skin was bleach white, and their eyes, which were previously normal, were this beady black, like oversized bugs were looking at me. I stood there, frozen as I looked at them. Then the man spoke in a deep, filtered voice that seemed to echo from all around me.
Would you like a ride? We have room for one more.
Shaking my head was all I could muster. Without another word, the 2 people, if you can call them that, got into their car, shut the doors, and pulled away. None of their lights were on. I watched wide-eyed as the limo drove down the road before disappearing into the darkness of the early morning.
You can take this story as a cautionary tale, because that one time I took something from someone without asking for permission, it turned my life upside down. I was 8 years old when this happened. I've always been an active kid, hence I got into trouble quite easily. One day I went to play in the city park with my friends. We were playing in the jungle gym. Everyone was trying to hold on as long as they could. I was hanging on it for a long time and out of overconfidence, tried to pull off some stunts. My hands eventually slipped, and I fell on the hard ground, fracturing my leg. I was admitted to the hospital immediately, and that's where I met Sam. Sam was another kid similar to my age. He was really sick and often went to surgeries every 2 days. His parents used to come and cry sitting in front of his bed. Sam never talked to anyone. His bed was right next to mine. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I woke up hearing his heavy breathing. I could tell his health was deteriorating rapidly. One day, Sam fell very sick, and he was taken to the ICU. While he was away, I noticed a bunch of Happy Meal toys under his pillow. I was just a kid and kind of wanted that collection. The next day, I was about to be discharged from the hospital, so I secretly put his collection in my backpack with my other stuff. I was deeply asleep when I felt someone standing near my bed. I saw with my sleepy eyes that it was Sam. I woke up frantically, saying, "Hey Sam, you scared me. How long have you been standing there?" He didn't reply to me. There was something different with Sam. His face was pale, and his eyes were like a dead fish. I said again, "So, you've been discharged from the ICU, huh?" I want my toys back. Now I was all nervous about this awkward confrontation. I knew he would realize after coming back, but I was hoping he would find out after I left the hospital. I wanted to keep the toys, and if I returned them now, it would directly prove that I stole them. So I denied it to his face. "What toys are you talking about, Sam?" "My Happy Meal toys from McDonald's. You took them last night. They're in your backpack." Sam spoke as if he saw me doing all of this. His accuracy kinda disturbed me, but I was adamant as well. "I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take your toys." Suddenly, Sam's face started to change. His eyes got wide and furious. He looked at me like a hungry wolf and said, "I want my toys back. I want them back." He then opened his mouth, and his jaw started to expand horrifyingly. I screamed in fear and woke up on my bed, drenched in sweat. "Were you having a bad dream, Paul?" I saw a nurse standing near my bed. I looked outside the window and realized that it was morning. Was it all a dream? But it felt so real. I looked at Sam's bed and found it empty. "Are you looking for your friend?" "We weren't friends." "Oh, that's too bad. Your parents will be here soon to take you home." Sister?" The nurse was walking away. Hearing my voice, she turned back and said, "Yes? Do you need something? How is Sam doing?" "Oh, well, he's in a better place now. May God bless his soul." The nurse left, and I realized that Sam was no more. On the way home, I heard my parents talking about Sam and feeling sorry for him and his parents. Sam passed away at around 8 o'clock last night. I felt goosebumps thinking I dreamt of a dead boy in the middle of the night. I looked inside my backpack. Sam's Happy Meal toys were still there. I didn't tell anyone about all this. A week passed by and things got back to normal. Every weekend, my parents took me to the mall. We watched a movie and ate junk food. One weekend, after spending fun time at the mall, my dad took us to eat at McDonald's. I just took a bite of a cheeseburger when my eyes went to the last table in the corner. What I saw ran a cold shiver down my spine. It was Sam. He was sitting at the corner table, wearing the hospital outfit on which I saw him last time. His eyes were blood red and filled with anger. He opened his hollow mouth and said something, but I couldn't hear his voice. Judging by the movement of his lips, I could tell he was repeating one line over and over again. I was becoming numb with fear. Paul, are you all right, honey?" My mom's worried voice set me free from that frozen hell. I got back to my senses and tried my best to hide my fear. Yeah, I'm fine, Mom." When I looked at the table again, I found it empty. No one was there. I somehow finished my food and we got up to leave for home. My mom and dad were walking in front of me. We were near the exit door when I saw a guy dressed as Ronald McDonald giving balloons to every kid. When my turn came, he crouched down and handed me a blue-colored balloon. I smiled and said thank you. He got extremely close to my face and said, "Sam wants his Happy Meal toys back." I screamed and ran to my dad. For a moment, everyone around got shocked. My dad asked me, "What happened, Paul? Did he scare you?" I looked back at the guy, but he even looked terrified with my reaction. He said in a nervous voice, "I don't know what happened, sir. Your kid got scared on his own and screamed in my face." I started to realize that Sam's ghost was haunting me because I took his toys. But what can I do now? He's dead. Can someone come back from the dead to haunt a living person? Do ghosts really exist? I caught a high fever after coming home that night. My parents thought the guy dressed as Ronald McDonald scared me, but only if they knew the truth. I might have passed away with a high fever, hence I don't remember what happened after we reached home. I woke up past midnight hearing a thunder crack. A heavy storm was going on outside. I could see a flash of lightning reflecting on my room walls. I understood I was lying on my bed. My eyes took some time to adjust to the darkness. I checked the corners of my room with scared eyes. I felt Sam's ghost will emerge from those dark corners to scare me to sleep once again. There was no one. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that I was imagining all of this, and none of these incidents were actually happening in real life. I picked up the glass of water I kept near my bed to take a sip. I took the first sip and calmed down a bit. Then I went to take a second sip, just when a drop of something fell in my glass. In that flash of lightning, I saw the water changing into a red color. I immediately looked up and saw Sam was lying on the ceiling, staring at me with a devilish grin. He was looking like a creature from another world. Half of his face was rotten with maggots crawling on the surface. He opened his black, hollow mouth and said in a demonic voice,
I want my toys back! Those are my Happy Meals!
Before I could say something, he jumped on me from the ceiling and vomited a pool of blood on my face. I screamed at the top of my lungs. My parents rushed to my room, and I hugged my dad and cried for an hour. My parents slept in my room that night. The next morning when I woke up, I told them everything. I don't think they believed a dead kid's ghost was haunting me, but they took me to Sam's house and made me apologize to his parents for stealing his toys. When I returned those Happy Meal toys to Sam's mom, she said in a sobbing voice,
These were Sam's favorite toys. He loved eating at McDonald's just to collect this toy.
After that day, I never saw Sam again.